sticking to a brush. That's huge. If you are a beginner and you don't know how to pick up powder, because there's a lot of people that teach it, there's a lot of instructors out there, or so-called instructors, who like to teach like water skiing across the surface. So what they'll teach you how to do is take your brush and pull a lot of it off the base, and then you're water skiing across the surface of the nail. So, like, to me, it's very dry around the edges. You're not going to get a really, really big bead. In order for you to get a massive pearl, what you have to be able to do, don't be afraid to get a lot of liquid. You have to be able to bounce into the surface. So you notice how deep I bounce in the surface to be able to get a bead just like that. This is not bouncing. Taking your brush and holding it in the surface like this, like you're holding your breath and you're hoping that you're going to pick it up. Oh my gosh, if I just wait a little bit longer, what's going to end up happening is this. You're going to end up like getting it stuck inside your powder, and you're not going to be able to get it out. And you're like, you know what, I can get it, I can go. Dude, whoa, I got an asteroid. Right? You don't want to pick up an asteroid out of your powder, because that is not going to work. The consistency that you need has to be able to melt really, really fast. So you'll notice that if I bounce inside the powder, then I turn it over immediately, you're going to notice how everything melts quite fast. That's the consistency that you need so that everything flows, especially when you're doing overlays. So, as a beginner, you don't want boogers, you don't want asteroids. What you want is a nice flow. And how you're going to be able to do that is by, again, submersing your brush, tapping it, bounce, bounce, bounce. Give it a couple of seconds, and then when you go ahead and you set it to the back, you need a consistency that's going to be able to move so that you can focus your attention on trying to get your edges tight, right? So you'll notice that everything is running, it's running this way because I'm holding the finger like this. Like I'm literally holding it to the sides. So once it gets to this point, kind of ran off course, but that's okay. Like you'll notice that I really didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to guide it. It guided itself all the way down to the edges. All I have to do is kind of hold it in place, right, so that everything flows tight this way, this way, this way. So once it gets down to a point, like, how do I prevent it from rolling underneath the edges? We have to stop it. You have to use your brush as kind of a backdrop, and you're going to kind of have to hold it in place, right? Every time I take my brush and I dry it off, then any liquid that's on the surface of your powder is going to kind of absorb into the brush. And what I'm really, really doing is just holding. You guys are going to notice a lot of the work that I do, right? I really focus my attention on trying to hold the product in place. I'm going to go ahead and remove this and show you guys. So it's very difficult if you have a bead. Like, I'll show you guys. So for those of you guys that are graduating to a faster product, Speed Clear is definitely it, right? And you'll notice if you take your brush, you're like, okay, Greg, I got a lot of liquid. I'm going to go ahead and take it, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and bounce. Dude, oh, man, I got myself an awesome bead. And you do this, and you take your bead and you drain out the liquid because you don't like the run. And then you go ahead and then you set it to the very, very back, and you're like, how come it's not moving? Now, okay, that's like, okay, you have enough self-leveling characteristic to move it to the side, but even if you're juggling it, like you'll notice if I juggle it to the sides, it's kind of just staying in place, right? Do I want it to a point where I'm going to have to, because at this point I'm going to have to physically have to use the body of my brush to really start to work it down. Excuse me. And it's